Welcome to the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here we are. Let's talk about the New York City mayor's race. The perfect
Talk
segue.
about a clown, Mamdani.
Now, what I'm going to do here is let's say we fast forward to a Mamdani victory.
Oh, God.
And I'm not predicting it. I'm obviously not calling for it. And I still think he can be defeated. But let's fast forward and let's say in 3 weeks we fall under his domination and he becomes the mayor of New York.
You got to use that word domination?
Yeah, what's going to happen at that point? I believe that it will lead Donald Trump to take over New York City and will lead the Republican Party to take over New York State.
You better be careful saying that.
Why?
No, just Donald Trump leading New York City.
Yeah.
Then all the left's going to say, look, he's a tyrant or he's a...
Well, they can say that anyway.
They're going to say that anyway. Yeah, okay, good.
If Mamdani is elected mayor of New York, it will inevitably trigger the takeover of the city by the Trump administration.
The king.
1/3 of the city's operating budget comes from state and federal aid. 1/3.
Third.
Trump will undoubtedly react to a Mamdani victory by slashing or even totally freezing federal aid to both the city and the state. In addition, Mamdani's socialist agenda will make it very hard for the city or the state to borrow long-term or even short-term on the bond markets. Local tax revenues that pay for 2/3 of the city's budget are heavily dependent on property tax collections, which generated over $32 billion last year. His proposed rent freeze would cause a sharp drop in property tax collections, necessitating both long and short-term borrowing to make up the difference. New York City, under state law, is a creature of New York State and totally subservient to its wishes and law. In fact, the governor of the state can remove the mayor, a power last exercised by then-Governor Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1932 when he tried to fire New York City Mayor Jimmy Walker over bribery allegations. Walker resigned before Roosevelt could act, but it was clear that he was going to throw him out. The daily need of the city and state for federal and state aid to meet its budget obligations, as well as the legal power of the governor over the mayor, give both Trump and New York State Governor Kathy Hochul enormous political and financial leverage over any mayor.
You mispronounced her name. It's Jokel.
Jokel, okay. Should Trump move to cut off federal funds to New York City, it would trigger a financial crisis far greater than that in the 1970s that forced a state takeover of city finances. The fiscal squeeze that would follow a cutoff of federal aid would pose serious political problems for Kathy Hochul, a Democrat who endorsed Mamdani for mayor. Hochul, along with the New York legislature, faces re-election in 26. She can expect a very strong Republican challenge, likely by upstate Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. Stefanik's district is enormous, and probably one of the biggest legislative districts in the country. It borders on Vermont and Canada and encompasses the entire Adirondack State Park. Stefanik was originally facing a possible Republican primary against Congressman Mike Lawler before Trump appointed her as UN ambassador. But fearing the loss of Lawler's seat, Trump pulled the appointment and then told Stefanik to run for governor, challenging Hochul. A federal cut or freeze in aid to New York State would either put Hochul in the position of defending Mamdani's socialist policies or trying to rein him in.
Major trap.
Either, of course, certain to divide her Democratic support. It's unlikely that Hochul could win re-election in this environment, and it opens the door to a Republican victory at the state level. Under Trump's heel, New York City would be governed by rules very much similar to those which govern Washington, D.C., whether because Trump forces the delegation of home rule to Washington or because of the financial realities would force on New York City. Either way, Mamdani's victory would force Trump to step in. Now, what is the city's financial situation? New York City is flush. It's rich right now. It's sitting on a mountain of cash from all the money that we got in the COVID crisis and all the Biden money. It's been stored up and piled up in the city.
You mean federal money from COVID?
Federal and state money.
Okay.
Or federal money through the state.
Right.
and it's piled up now, sitting there in the city treasury. So when Mamdani would take office, he would have a lot of cash on hand and wouldn't need help from anybody for a while. But his plans and his socialist policies will rapidly eat up that money. It also will dry up revenues. He's saying that he will have free bus fares in the city. He's saying that he'll cut subway fares.
Is that when you say eat up the money? Is this what we're talking about?
Yeah.
The bus fare, what about?
Well, he would cancel rent increases.
So
A landlord can't pay the property taxes,
right,
because he can't collect the rent.
And maybe a lot of landlords are going to sell out, get out. You know, and do you think if they're going to sell, you're not going to get private people to come in and buy buildings? You think it would be the city that would buy these buildings for
Well, I don't know,
how would
but
that?
let me
Yeah,
stay off that. Stay on the subject of what I'm working on. Yeah. So I think that Mamdani is going to be very dependent from the beginning on federal and state revenues, and his own policies will encourage that. So I think in the opening weeks and months he can be pretty independent. But I think after he takes office and he's been there for a while, and he particularly has to start fulfilling these promises of spending money and cutting off revenues, he's going to need federal assistance, and he's going to need state assistance. Now, who in their right mind is going to lend money to a mayor who says, I'm not going to collect property taxes by raising rents? I'm not going to charge bus and subway fees and fares. I'm gonna give away everything that I can, and basically create a city totally dependent on the state and the city on government, really.
So who's going to invest when they're not going to get anything in return?
Exactly. And what's going to happen is a freeze will fall on the lending community, the bondholders. And whether it's Trump reacting to Mamdani's victory, saying we got to get rid of this guy, we can't let him function, or the market saying we're not political, we don't care that he's a socialist, we just care that he's going to borrow money that he can't repay.
The guy that buys the bonds.
Yeah, we're not going to lend money. We're not going to buy his bonds.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that either way, it's going to force Trump to step in and basically functionally take over New York City. So he'll use and he will, and to the extent he needs help in doing that, he will force Hochul to do it. And Hochul has absolute power over the mayor because the city is a creature of the state. So Trump will tell Hochul, I want you to do this and that.
Straighten this guy out.
And she'll say, I'm not going to do it. I'm a Democrat. I don't like you. And Trump will say, well, fine, you do that. I'm not going to give you federal aid. You're not going to get any federal money. New York State.
Not just New York City.
Yeah, and his power is enormous.
Wow.
So as we look at this election, think of it
You don't think this could backfire at Trump with all of this?
Yeah, I think it will. I think he'll get a lot of negatives. People say you're being a dictator and all of that. But he doesn't give a damn.
Right. He's going to make this thing work.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, good.
And I think that's what you're dealing with right now.
I think that's most important, that we stress that it's not that he doesn't care. I'm going to make this thing work. Whatever I have to do, it's going to work. And if I got to pull money from you guys for a couple of months, and you're going to feel it, and then until you figure it out, this is what I'm going to do. So, and he's like that. That's what he does with everything. He doesn't think about what's going to happen. He thinks about the end result of making New York a better place.
He does. So when you go into the election, you vote in this mayor's race. Think of it as a trial, and after the trial, there are appeals. You can go to a higher court and you can get a verdict reversed.
Sure.
And that's what is going to happen in New York. Even if we vote for Mamdani and we elect this creep mayor, we're setting up a situation where we are totally dependent on Donald Trump and a hostile Congress for money.
Now, I got to jump in, Dick. I was at Trump Tower earlier talking to Jesse. You know, he's one of the guys that runs the place, right? And we were talking about Mamdani. And he goes, I'm sorry, I think I have to vote for Como. Because I go, no, you vote for Sliwa, because all the people, the polls come out, and just like I said with Trump in 16, I said, he's going to win. I knew it, just like with you. I knew he was going to win. I knew that the polls came out in 15 and all the months before the election, and people just don't want to say they're voting for him.
Whenever you get a poll where people are not voting for someone because they don't think that he can win, that's the easiest argument to rebut.
But
because your own success rebuts it.
Right. So anyway, what I'm saying with Jesse earlier, right? I go, a lot of people that would say they get a poll and they go, I'm not voting for Curtis, I'm not voting, are going to come out and they're going to vote for him. Or they're saying, sure, I'll vote for Mamdani. I'm a Democrat. And they're not going to go out and vote, or they're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, we got to make sure that people that say Curtis cannot win, like this guy this morning, and I changed his mind. He goes, I'm going to vote for him now, and hopefully, because he was going to go for Cuomo. So people, we got to get the people to realize, don't go after Cuomo. If you're going to change your vote from the dummy to the creep.
The way this happens politically, I've seen it so many times, is they say, you don't vote for this guy, he can't win.
You mean the Curtis guy?
Yeah.
Or whatever, yeah.
And then a poll comes out, and he moves up 5 points. Everybody says, wow.
Wow, he's going up.
And then he moves up 8 and 10 and 12. And ultimately, if you're basing your opposition to him on the idea that he can't win,
then why is it going up?
You're going to lose. Because as he begins to win, the momentum will become irresistible. It's not just a question of momentum of saying, boy, everybody likes this guy, or I'm going to consider voting for him, and my neighbor's going to vote for him.
Right.
It's a question of a political analyst. I say, I want to stop Mamdani. What's my best way to do it, with Cuomo or with Sliwa? And I think that after a while in this race, people may well say Sliwa, but that's not what I'm talking about today. I've talked about that already. The thing I'm talking about today is that even if we lose that case, we have an appeal. We can take it up to Hochul, who can remove this guy.
Jokel.
Or we can take it up to Trump, who can discipline Hochul. And there are layers here, and we have power over those layers. And the power is partially legal, because New York City is a creature of New York State, and New York State is really a creature of the federal government in a way. But it also is financial, because, he's got a lot of money now. He's going to run out quickly, and he's going to need to borrow money from the bond market. And they're not idiots.
You mean if he's mayor?
Yeah, right, they're saying, I'm not going to lend you money as long as you're cutting yourself off from these revenue sources. So
it's almost like cut off your nose to spite your face type of thing.
Yeah. So I think there's an appeal here, and we need to understand that.